Welcome to Inside the Artist Studio, brought to you by Contemporary Art Gallery Online, where we believe everyone's life should include art. You are visiting Hope Osborn's gallery page today. Now meet the artist. Welcome, Hope, to Inside the Artist Studio.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I appreciate having this time with you.
Yeah. Well, let's start off this morning by telling the audience a little bit about yourself.
I would say that I'm kind of let's put it this way. I don't have any formal training in art, and that's probably where I would start, except that all my life I have been creative in some way. I just earned a degree in professional and technical writing, and that involves all sorts of creative nonfiction and writing. And in the process of that, I've been able to incorporate my art into web pages and things like that. So, it used to be arts and crafts that I did because there was no art classes, there was nothing for me to know. Well, you could paint or you could do this, but I did have a 110 millimeter camera and in elementary school that I started out with. It was very difficult in those days because you had to take a picture and not know what it was going to look like and get it developed, and you'd have money for that, and then you get it back, and then you figure out whether you have something that's worth anything. And back then I took lots of pictures of animals. It was as I grew older that I started to develop more of a taste for historic buildings in my photography, and discovered digital abstraction of photography. Even my abstract art is all based on photographs. Everything that's in them has come from a photograph. So I've really developed that, and it's really only in the last 3 years that I intentionally put effort and time and everything into developing this art of mine. And I have succeeded in building, instead of a formal education, a formal resume with awards and exhibits and publications. So I feel like I have had just positive feedback for me being an artist, despite not having the formal education.
Well, tell us, if you would, tell the audience when you see something that you want to take a picture of, kind of walk them through your process from start to finish.
Well, first, these days I am trying to find an angle that best shows off the building, that will show off the textures and details and filigree and all of the usually historic buildings the architects would incorporate into the buildings, so they're artwork in themselves. So I'm just finding a new outlet for that artistic and so I'll look at lighting, and I'll look at angles, and sometimes I'll just take a picture of the door, and that I've done a whole series of doors that included Antigua, Guatemala ruins from the 16th century to, Fort Sewell, Massachusetts, where, in the 1700s, we had a fort to defend and everything. And sometimes it's just, I try to nowadays more and more capture several different things. And then it's not until I get home and start looking at the photographs, then I dismiss quite a number of them still, but with digital cameras, that's great. We have those. When I first saw a digital camera, as opposed to the millimeter cameras, film cameras, then I was ecstatic because I had all this possibility of doing what I'm doing now, and that is being able to first go and look at a subject, and then second, come home and re-look at that subject, and then see whether it's better in color or for black and white. And these days I have found more and more that black and white photography is my niche. And then I have developed from photographs that were color into abstracts, which if you had asked me way back when I was going to just museums and loving it and not knowing why I loved it, the abstracts were not part of the museum I probably would say I was spent much time on. But I've learned to do abstracts that remind me of things and get me creative in a new way. You know, I created this series of kaleidoscope captures, and they, like I said, they're all based in a photograph. You couldn't tell it from looking at them. In fact, the white in every one of the 16 is a cutout of a white orchid flower that adds that contrast to it. But the kaleidoscope captures came about because I was experimenting with apps, and I do that a lot. It doesn't have to be some photo app that is specially meant for it. I just find apps that are interesting that I can do things with, and I experiment and I play with them, and that's the fun of it. And that's the greatest part about the art, is there's no limit, and there's no one to tell me, no, you shouldn't do that, or you should do it this way. It's what I think is the direction I want to take it. And as I do the process, then I learn more and more where I want to go with it. I'm picking out and discarding and everything. And the kaleidoscope captures, if you could see the video I created of the kaleidoscopes with me changing them and altering them. The reason I call them kaleidoscopes is because I've had a long life of love of kaleidoscopes. And in fact, in the last several years, I thought, why don't I buy one? I mean, what's stopping me now? But then I thought, well, I don't want just a cheap kaleidoscope. I want a really good one that has a really good, picture images to see in it. And I just never got there. And so this has been a real blessing to have this opportunity to create bigger and better kaleidoscopes than I could ever have purchased.
So what different apps do you use, Hope? Do you any in particular?
There's one that I've used quite a bit called Circular, and it's on the Apple Store. And I've used what is it called? I did my colorful geometric abstractions through another app that has all these like gazillion choices, and then you can move it in any direction. And so it is really like, and then sometimes I'll run it through an app and do something, and then I'll run it through the app again to do something more, like the one that's called Flash, the colorful abstraction. And it's like these logs, Lincoln logs in color in 3D looking appearance. And I created that part from the photograph, and then I pushed it through the app again and exploded it. Just made an explosion right in the middle of it.
Well, we certainly love your art here, Hope, and she's for the audience, she's an award-winning photographer. Well, we're getting near the end of the show, Hope, and I always like to ask artists to tell the audience who your favorite artist is, and if you could spend time with them and ask them one question, what would that one question be?
Well, that part was the easiest part of this, and that is I love Chihuly, blown glass. He has exhibits all around the world, and the color and the variety. It actually, now that I think of it, really reminds me of me doing the colorful abstracts I do, because I love that brilliance of color and the light that comes through it and everything. And if I had one question that has come up with, I've gone to his exhibits, and I've gone to 3 of them because I go whenever I can, and they're close, then I have looked at his sketches that he is giving to the artists who are working with him to actually do the blown glass now, because he doesn't do it as much himself as much as he has someone do it. And I've looked at those sketches and I've thought, how are you communicating through this sketch to these other artists who probably have their own ideas and vision and everything to create something that is still your work of art and it's coming out like you want in the sketch?
That would be interesting how that works. And I am familiar that he is some awesome blown glass that he has. Well, I want to let the audience know that you can visit Hope Osborn's gallery page and look at her wonderful art. Come to Contemporary Art Gallery online and just type in Hope Osborn, HOPEOSBORN, and take a look at some of her wonderful art and purchase some of her wonderful art. Hope, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to spill my guts about art.
And thank you for viewing Hope Osborn's gallery page today. Now that you know something about the artists, we hope you will help support them by purchasing some of their art. Before leaving today, please follow us on all the social media platforms and be sure to sign up for our bi-monthly newsletter so you can keep up with all that is happening at the gallery. We look forward to seeing you back at the gallery at contemporaryartgalleryonline.com or our short handle, cagonline.shop. Thank you again and have a great day.